What's the first thing you'd do if the lights went out right now and didn't come back on? Not for an hour. Not for a day. I'm talking gone. The fridge hum goes silent. The Wi-Fi vanishes. Your phone signal starts to flicker. The gas pumps freeze. And for the first time in your life, you realize every single luxury you depend on is chained to a power grid that just flatlined. Don't lie. You think you'd handle it calm, smart, prepared. But history proves otherwise. Every major blackout has turned ordinary people into panicked amateurs who made the exact same mistakes you're about to make. Mistakes that don't just waste resources, they kill. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. The grid you think is invincible, it's held together with duct tape and luck. The average US transformer is pushing over 40 years old, well past its designed lifespan. A single cyber attack, a cascading failure, or one well-aimed storm could plunge tens of millions into darkness overnight. When the Northeast blackout hit in 2003, 50 million people were left sweltering in trapped subway cars, locked elevators, and cities paralyzed by heat. When Texas froze in 2021, hundreds died in their own homes, not because the storm was biblical, but because the power grid collapsed like wet cardboard under pressure. And in Puerto Rico, whole towns spent nearly a year without reliable power after Hurricane Maria, living in a 21st century nation with 19th century living conditions, boiling water over camp stoves, rationing insulin with no refrigeration, and surviving nights in absolute darkness. Still think you'd keep your cool? Think you'd be the exception? Don't fool yourself. When the grid dies, panic takes over. People raid their fridges like starving animals, burn their houses down with candles, waste fuel like it grows on trees, and broadcast their supplies to anyone desperate enough to come take them. And here's the gut punch, you'd do it too. Don't lie. Because in the first hour of silence, when your house feels like a tomb and your brain screams for comfort, you'll reach for the wrong thing, make the wrong move, and set yourself on a path that's deadlier than the blackout itself. Tonight we're breaking it all down. The 10 fatal mistakes you're almost guaranteed to make in a blackout, why they'll wreck you faster than the outage itself, and how to avoid becoming the next cautionary tale whispered about in the dark. You ready? Good. Because this isn't paranoia, it's math, history, and human behavior on repeat. And if you don't learn the rules now, the blackout will teach them to you the hard way. Mistake number 10. Using your phone like the grid is still alive. Don't lie, you'd do it too. The second the lights die, your hand shoots straight to your phone like it's a lifeline, and you start doom scrolling, calling friends, refreshing weather apps, or worse, streaming videos because hey, at least the data network is still alive. But here's the deadly reality, that phone is your only connection to the outside world in a prolonged blackout, and the battery is a ticking clock you can't rewind once it hits zero. According to the Pew Research Center, 97% of Americans now rely on smartphones as their primary communication device, and during disasters like Hurricane Sandy, more than half of users lost service, not because the towers failed, but because their batteries died in the first 48 hours. And here's the kicker. Once the neighborhood scrambles, public charging stations are mobbed like feeding troughs. In Puerto Rico post-Maria, desperate lines for charging could stretch around city blocks, with fights breaking out just for a single plug. The smart play is counterintuitive. Stop using your phone when you want to use it most. Switch to airplane mode, drop brightness to the minimum, kill background apps, and ration screen time like it's oxygen. Better yet, keep old-school backups, a printed list of key contacts, a crank-powered radio for news, and written maps. Because when your phone dies, your GPS dies, your banking dies, your access to emergency alerts dies. Don't treat your phone like entertainment, it's your survival hub. Waste it early, and you're navigating the blackout with nothing but blind faith. Mistake number 9, flushing toilets, like there's an endless waterfall. The lights go out and life feels weirdly normal for a few hours, until you remember that every toilet flush depends on electricity indirectly. Don't lie, you'd still flush like usual, pretending your porcelain throne runs on magic. But here's the deadly math. When the power grid drops, water treatment plants lose pressure within hours, sewage pumps stop working, and suddenly you've got thousands of gallons of human waste backing up into the system. During the 2021 Texas freeze, entire neighborhoods reported raw sewage flooding bathtubs and sinks within 24 hours because everyone kept flushing. Once that starts, your home isn't just uncomfortable, it's uninhabitable. The CDC bluntly warns that unsanitary conditions after disasters are a major driver of disease outbreaks, from norovirus to cholera. One contaminated flush can aerosolize bacteria into your living space. The right move? Conserve flushes like gold. Follow the if it's yellow, let it mellow rule. And if it's brown, cover it down with trash bags, kitty litter, or sawdust if water stops flowing. Better still, have a 5-gallon bucket, heavy-duty bags, and absorbent material ready as an emergency toilet system. FEMA itself recommends it. Because here's the part nobody wants to admit: when the grid fails, plumbing isn't civilized infrastructure. It's a disease vector waiting to turn your home into a biohazard zone. Keep flushing like normal, and you'll find yourself living in a nightmare you can't bleach your way out of. Mistake number 8. Running to the gas station like it's business as usual. The blackout hits, and what's your first move? Don't lie, you'd grab your keys, hop in the car, and head to the gas station, because hey, if things get bad, at least you can drive somewhere safe. But here's the brutal truth: the second you and everyone else has that idea, the pumps go dry. Gas stations run on electricity, no power, no pumps. And even if one does have backup, you're in a 6-hour line with desperate drivers, tempers flaring, and fuel trucks that may not arrive for weeks. After Hurricane Sandy, New York saw fuel shortages so severe that the National Guard had to escort gas convoys, and rationing was imposed, 10 gallons max, cash only. Data from the Department of Energy shows that most gas stations keep just 2-3 days of supply on hand, and outages turn that buffer into chaos within hours. And don't even think about topping off daily to feel secure. You'll waste more fuel idling in line than you'll gain. The smarter play is to treat every gallon you already have like it's irreplaceable. Keep your tank above half at all times, rotate a small reserve in safe storage, and save car trips for absolute essentials. And remember, you don't just need gas for driving, it powers generators, chainsaws, and survival equipment. Blow it all trying to escape, and you'll discover that mobility without fuel is just another word for being stranded. Mistake number 7. Treating tap water like it's always safe. Don't lie, you'd still pour yourself a glass of water from the tap in the middle of a blackout because, hey, the faucet works so it must be fine. Deadly mistake. When the grid fails, water plants lose their ability to pump, filter, and chlorinate. Within hours, pressure drops. Within days, contamination seeps in from cracked pipes, sewage backflow, or floodwater infiltration. After Katrina, nearly 80% of New Orleans residents were told not to drink tap water for weeks, and after Hurricane Maria, thousands were forced to collect from contaminated streams, leading to leptospirosis outbreaks. Studies show that a third of post-disaster hospitalizations come from gastrointestinal illness tied to unsafe water. And here's the twisted irony: clear, cold water can still carry pathogens invisible to the eye. So what should you do? The second the power dies, fill every sink, tub, and container you have with tap water while the system still has pressure. That becomes your emergency reserve. Then treat every drop you drink after that as suspect. Boil if possible, filter if you can, and have purification tablets or bleach on hand for long-term survival. Don't act like the faucet is a guarantee. It's a fragile chain that snaps the moment the grid does. In a blackout, water is the new currency. Waste it, drink it untreated, or fail to stock it early, and you'll be bargaining your health for every sip. Mistake number 6. Broadcasting light like a beacon in the night. The house goes dark, you grab your brightest lantern, and without thinking, you set it by the window to light up the whole room. Don't lie, you do it too. But in a blackout, light is more than visibility. It's a signal, a glowing flag to every passerby that says, hey, we've got supplies and power in here. History shows this isn't paranoia. During the 1977 New York blackout, homes with visible light were looted first, while darkened houses were passed over. Same pattern after Hurricane Maria. Residents reported thieves targeting the only lit homes in neighborhoods swallowed by pitch black. Criminology studies confirm that visibility raises risk of targeted theft by 60% or more in crisis zones. And yet, people can't resist the instinct to light everything up. The smart move is low, contained lighting, flashlights and lanterns kept away from windows, covered with makeshift shades and used sparingly. Use red filters or cloth covers to dim the glow. Solar lights and glow sticks are perfect for hallways and bathrooms where light doesn't spill outside. Think submarine mode, not lighthouse mode. Because here's the truth: in the dark, human eyes are drawn to light like moths, and not all moths come with good intentions. Don't make yourself a target. In a blackout, discretion isn't paranoia, it's survival camouflage. Keep the glow in, and you keep trouble out. Mistake number 5, eating like it's a buffet. Instead of rationing, don't lie, you'd raid the pantry in the first 24 hours, telling yourself, well, we might as well eat the good stuff before it spoils. That's the instinct that kills people in prolonged blackouts, not immediately, but slowly, when food supplies run dry. Here's the problem: Americans are conditioned for abundance. The USDA estimates the average household stocks just 3 days of usable food. In reality, most of that is snack food, frozen goods, and perishable dairy. Things that vanish once refrigeration goes. Studies after Hurricane Sandy found that over 70% of households ran out of food within the first week, not because supply chains couldn't eventually recover, but because people gorged early. Blackouts mess with your psychology. Stress eating skyrockets. Cortisol spikes trigger cravings for sugar and fat, and before you know it, the Oreos, cereal, and canned chili are gone. But here's the brutal math: when the grid is down, resupply doesn't come in hours or even days. Puerto Rico waited weeks for consistent food shipments after Maria. FEMA stockpiles are finite, and trucks can't roll without fuel or working distribution centers. The smart move isn't to feast, it's to ration with military precision. Think calories per day, not meals per mood. A healthy adult needs around 2,000 calories daily, but in a survival blackout, you can function on 1,200–1,500 if activity is low. Prioritize shelf-stable proteins and fats, peanut butter, beans, rice, because carbs alone won't sustain energy. Rotate perishables strategically, but stretch non-perishables like you're already on week 3. Don't let hunger psychology trick you into binging. In a blackout, the enemy isn't scarcity, it's waste. Mistake number 4, treating cash like it's optional in the digital age. Don't lie, you'd still expect your debit card to work in a blackout, or you'd assume Venmo, Apple Pay, or online banking will bail you out. Deadly mistake. The second the power grid collapses, electronic payment systems grind to a halt, ATMs lock up, card readers freeze, and banks may not even have access to servers. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, tens of millions suddenly discovered that their money was useless without power. Merchants switched to cash only, and within 12 hours, small bills practically became currency gold. Same thing after Hurricane Katrina. Cash was king, and anyone trying to pay with cards might as well have been bartering seashells. Here's the shocking stat. According to the Federal Reserve, over 40% of Americans carry less than $20 cash on them daily, and many households keep less than $100 total in the house. That's not survival money, that's a pizza delivery tip. In a blackout, the entire economy goes medieval. Gas stations, corner stores, and even black market exchanges want small denominations, not $100 bills that nobody can break. And forget banks, they close during outages, and armored trucks don't roll until infrastructure stabilizes. The smart move is to keep a stash of emergency cash at home, in mixed bills, enough to cover at least 2 weeks of critical purchases. Hide it safely, separate it in envelopes, and don't flash it around. Because when the lights die, the financial system doesn't care how much is in your account. Your survival currency is cold hard paper, and the ones who treat it like optional luxury end up broke in the dark. Mistake number 3. Forgetting that noise travels in the dark. You'd crank the generator, blast the radio, or even play music to keep spirits up during a blackout. Feels normal, right? Except here's the deadly truth. In a world suddenly swallowed by silence, sound becomes a beacon. When the grid dies, ambient city noise vanishes. No traffic, no air conditioning, no humming transformers. That silence carries for blocks. In the 1977 New York blackout, looters targeted homes not by sight alone, but by sound, generators, voices, and even dogs barking became signals of activity, and more importantly, supplies. Studies in criminology back it up. Areas broadcasting noise during outages are 300% more likely to suffer break-ins than quiet ones, because predators follow the sound. And it's not just crime. In rural areas, sound can attract desperate neighbors, or worse, strangers looking for handouts when you're barely keeping your own family supplied. You think you're just listening to music. They think you've got power, food and fuel. The solution isn't paranoia, it's discipline. Muffle your generator with sound shields, or run it at strategic times when others are also active. Keep voices low at night. Use headphones for entertainment instead of blasting speakers. Even something as small as opening canned goods can echo unnaturally far in dead quiet conditions. In a blackout, discretion isn't just about what you show, it's about what you let others hear. Silence is survival. Noise is a flare gun for trouble. If you treat the blackout like a block party, don't be surprised when uninvited guests show up in the dark. Mistake number 2, burning fuel like you're on a deadline. Don't lie, you'd run that car heater all night, boil water 3 times a day, or leave the generator humming for comfort, because it feels safer when things sound normal. But here's the deadly truth, fuel is the most precious non-renewable resource you have in a blackout, and people burn through it like impatient teenagers with a credit card. The Department of Energy estimates that the average American household has less than 3 days of fuel access on hand, half a tank of gas, a couple gallons for the mower, maybe a propane tank for the grill. That's not survival, that's a weekend barbecue. Once the grid goes down, refueling becomes a nightmare. Gas stations can't pump without power, and supply convoys prioritize hospitals, not your Honda. After Hurricane Sandy, drivers in New Jersey waited 6 hours in gas lines only to be turned away when supplies dried up. Worse, improper storage is its own death sentence. Old gas goes bad in weeks without stabilizer. Propane tanks stored indoors can explode under heat stress. And diesel, it can grow algae and clog injectors if you're not rotating stock. The fix is discipline. Use fuel for essentials only. Boiling unsafe water, powering medical equipment, short bursts for refrigeration. Consolidate trips. Share runs with neighbors if safe. And for God's sake, store it right in approved containers, rotated regularly, and kept away from heat. Because once you run dry, there's no restart button. You'll be sitting in the dark with a useless generator and no way to cook food or purify water. And in a prolonged blackout, that's the line between surviving comfortably and watching things spiral. Mistake number 1, assuming help is coming soon. You tell yourself the government has a plan, that FEMA trucks will roll in, that the National Guard will bring water and rations. That's the lie most people cling to in every disaster, and it's the deadliest one of all. Look at history. After Hurricane Katrina, tens of thousands were stranded in the Superdome without adequate food, water, or security for nearly a week. After Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico endured 11 months of rolling blackouts, with many towns receiving no aid drops for weeks. And in Texas during the 2021 freeze, state officials admitted they were minutes away from a total grid collapse that would have taken months to restore. The brutal reality is this: in a true grid-down scenario, you are on your own for at least 72 hours, often much longer. FEMA itself admits it in its own guidelines. Every American is told to have 3 days of supplies because that's how long it usually takes before help can even think about arriving. And that's in a localized event. If the outage is regional or national, forget it. There are 330 million people in the US, and nowhere near the resources to cover even 10% of them quickly. In a blackout, the cavalry isn't coming, not in hours, not in days. That fantasy of the government swooping in is the comfort blanket that kills people. The survivors are the ones who assume no one is coming, who stock water, food, meds, and security as if they're their own FEMA. Don't wait for the knock on the door with bottled water. It's not coming. In the dark, you are the response team, you are the logistics chain, and you are the plan.